So, welcome to our conversation today. I am the moderator of these conversations, as you know very well. I have assigned myself that part. Makazi yangu ni kuuliza maswali kama kawaida. And so, we are continuing the conversation we had last time. We want to thank you for your feedback. There is someone who mentioned that he thought maybe with advice that we be doing short, episodes of topics, and you're grateful for that kind of feedback. Thank you for those who watch. Yeah, so welcome. And if you have some question, a suggestion, a comment, an opinion, please feel free to do so on our Facebook page, Youth Generation Impact. And also you can share our page as we continue in this conversation. So we are continuing the question of human sexuality. We are talking about marriages and that. So, and I don't want to start with a question. I want to welcome William Kimao Cornelius Apollo to open with some remarks of what they have been thinking about or reflecting around, what they have found, or some new ideas they've found from this discussion you've been having. Before I even ask any question, is there some new insight or a conversation you have found yourself in around the questions that we have been speaking about? So let me start with the chairman of this Y.G.I, Kimaya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dominic, and I want to thank all those who've been viewing and all those who've been giving us the support through giving feedbacks and sharing their ideas and their thoughts. So the feedbacks that I've got, they are very positive, and people are liking whatever we are discussing. And one thing that they said that they like the way we are discussing it. We are not putting it so formal. We bring so professional to tell us what they know, but we are discussing what we think is there for the young people, what we think is working for the young people. And that was a very positive feedback. They said that they like our discussion because we are talking about the real thing. Because some of the professionals who are talking about marriages and all that, they are talking about things either they read on papers or things that worked long ago. But they are appreciating that whatever we are talking about is the real thing and the things that are affecting young people currently. So some of the things that we've been discussing, and they said that they would like us to discuss further. It's about marriages. What is marriages? And of course, the issue of sologamy, those objectophilias, and all those, because they are affecting sexuality and marriage. And are they married? So the question today is, what is marriage? Is it church wedding? Is it paying dowry? Is it agreement between two people, or what is it? So those are the things that our viewers want to know. And then somebody also said that now, after this, then we should talk about, and I promise him that will be our next episode. We should talk about the steps that we need to take for us when we are choosing partners or when we want to marry. So thank you, Dominic. Those are the positive feedback that we've been getting, and I'd like to encourage our viewers to continue sharing their ideas and sending their messages. Even those who are watching currently, please share your ideas, share your views.
Awesome. So, as you've heard, that was the last thing that we said we'll be developing on today, as Kimaya has already introduced the topic of today. That's the last part we left. If you do remember, we want to build on that question of what is marriage, how do we define marriage. But yeah, Apollo,
Yes.
before we go to that, and that is yes, that's what I'm asking. Have you found some new insight on this discussion so far? Have you found yourself in a conversation about these issues? Have you, yeah?
Thank you, Mr. Dominic. Thank you, Mr. Kimaya. And I think Kimaya explained some of them. And one thing I would like to say is the youth generation impact. Those who came up with the idea, really, it was a good thing. And bringing out the issues which young people face now, or which we are facing now as young people, is something good. Since the beginning of the conversation to date, I think I've interacted with many and shared some of the insights and the issues young people face. And the majority are like, I think this is the best way we can go. there's no need of experts. We can make experts out of ourselves as young people, and also try to discuss these issues for the better future of our families and the society. Another thing is the topic of marriage is wide. And personally, let me say personally, as a young person, I did not know some of the things, and I'm happy that I was in this forum. So I have learned a few things, so many of them so insightful, so productive, so yeah, informative. It's really a blessing, and I think it's something we need to explore more and tell young people outside there that marriage can work. Let us join together. Yes.
Before we tell them marriage can work, Cornelius, and William, what is marriage? You know, that's the problem now. Because, you know, you're telling them, hey, listen, people, marriage can work. And then they turn to you and they tell you, but what is marriage? Define marriage. At what stage? At what stage does a relationship shift to marriage? Because okay, so before it was the exclusivity of what made marriage different was the question of sex, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can love any other person the way you can love your wife, or the way you can love your husband, but the uniqueness is the question of sex. Now you can have sex without getting married. So what is remaining of marriage and what is marriage? I don't know who wants to start on this question. So Cornelius, you want to start with it?
Let me say this. You know, when Kimaya asked that question last time, what's marriage? It also it was like a surprise to me. I was like, by the way, what is marriage? So I decided to go and ask few people outside there, even priests, even some of them priests, I met them, and then I was asking, what is marriage? Well, depending on where a person is, they'll define according to how they are. Like a priest will say, marriage is instituted by God, and if you come to church, and also maybe you combine with the traditional one. So when I went ahead and asked someone like a lawyer, I said marriage is based on either Christian, Islamic, civic, or civic something law that for AJ, and maybe tradition. So I don't get it. You know, I did not get anything. So maybe Kimaya will add something so that you understand.
Hebu Kimaya tuambie ama pengine maybe we are married and we don't even know.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe we are thinking we are single and kumbe we are married and we don't even know because we don't know what marriage is. Yes, William.
So you've said it rightly. I may be thinking that I'm married. I may be thinking that I'm single, but I'm not, or I don't know what is it. So I remember I'm the one who asked this question, and Dominic, you are the one who pushed me to ask this question. What is marriage? Because of the feedback that you gave. So I don't know, but I think that I'll still ask this question again. Dominic, what is marriage? Because last time I asked you, and then you said that will be the next discussion. So maybe you help me, my friend, and then maybe later on I can give the feedback that I sampled.
As a moderator, you know, it's always better to like keep your, in professional moderation, it's always better to keep your opinion to yourself. And in fact, when you're moderating, you don't even get time to think about these questions very much because you actually expecting to learn. So yeah, so I think I would be in a very bad place to answer that question. I don't know what the viewers think. Maybe the viewers can help us to understand what is marriage, because as you can see, right now it seems nobody is very clear about what marriage is. Okay, so maybe we can we can wait for the comments from on Facebook from our viewers who would want to tell us what is marriage, and how do you define it and who defines it. Okay, so that's a very, very important question, and even the second question that we all have to ask ourselves is the question of sex. What is sex? Okay, because now these days there are different definitions of what sex is. It seems insofar as you can insert one sexual organ into an opening of a human body, that is referred to as sex. If that is the case, and sex is what makes marriage unique from any other kind of relationship, and then sex is anything like that, does it not mean, therefore, I'm asking this question, does it not mean therefore that maybe actions like either homosexual unions or gay unions can also be referred to as marriage? Cornelius.
Wow, it's a very tricky question.
Tricky
Well,
sana.
very tricky. I don't know, but to me, I don't have an answer for that. It's very tricky. Very tricky.
Yeah?
My
Kwanza kwa hivyo
friend.
tuache na hiyo maswali mbili kwanza.
Kai,
No, Dominic.
Kimaya has
Kimaya, let me first of
yes.
all throw it to you before Cornelius faints.
Now, Dominic, I think I don't know what triggered me to ask this question, but now the thinking was, we've been always defining marriage. Okay, I now get it. Why? What triggered me to ask this question was when we were talking about homosexuality.
Yeah.
When we were talking about gayism, that brother and brother can get it.
Yes.
So, and then we say that now they are married. And then I asked, and then you said that was a very Christian perspective. And then I asked, now what is marriage? Because somebody will tell you that if you paid dowry, that's marriage. If you've gone to church, that's marriage. But again, to me, what I understand by marriage is an agreement between two people, a union between two people. These are two people who've agreed that we are going to do this. Yani, they've agreed within a setup where there is witness, either one or two. They've agreed that they are going to live together for maybe several purposes, and especially this is now mine, agreeing to get children and raise them in a reasonable way. Because if I say in a Christian way, then I'll have to go to definition of church wedding. But to me, marriage is an agreement between two people who've agreed that they're going to stay together till death do them apart.
Let me ask a question from what you have
with
said.
With the consent of their parents.
So where does arranged marriage go?
Arranged marriage.
If your definition of marriage is two people who are consenting, so does that exclude arranged marriage, like where your parents, like in many parts of India, where you're like, okay, we found a bride for you, found a husband for you, and the community says, well, there you go, and you go.
You see what, Mr. Dominic, Mr. Kimaya saying it's an agreement. I think even those who are homosexual, gays, or lesbians make an agreement, because there is an agreement
good
on
one
it.
Too.
So
good one too.
I don't know what we can use, the term we can use there, but agreement, I don't agree with it.
So, Dominic,
but maybe
what
Kimaya is saying is, Kimaya, did you mean that maybe it is part of what makes a marriage? And from a Western perspective, because the idea of consent within marriage is a very Christian Western perspective. For us, if you had grown up like 100 years ago, it's the community that would have told you. I don't know about your culture, especially I think you come from a similar culture, if I get it well.
No.
Paul is saying yes. You're saying no, Bona. Can you have a consent? Can you pick two adults who agree?
But Kitambi, it was happening.
Yes.
No, Dominic, but what you're saying about the example that you're giving about the Indian, that maybe arranged marriage. You see, even within this arranged marriage, there must be an agreement between a husband and a wife. Those who want to be united, they must agree, and there must be witness. I think those two things are must in a marriage: agreement.
Apana, Kimaya.
And
in some instances, you cannot say no to the family. In fact, in many instances, you cannot say no to the family. The family comes and tells you, hey, Kimaya, we found your wife. Okay, this is the person you're going to marry. Mnajuania mbele. You cannot say no to the family. So that's what it means to have an arranged marriage. Some people are for it. They are like, okay, how comes you seek career advice from people? And this is just something temporary. But when it comes to mambo ya love life, you think you can make that decision for yourself forever alone. Okay, so there's a question of, so you are bringing the question of consent, but you're saying, well, there are those who might say, well, it's not always every time there is consent. Okay, and that's why we are saying, even referring to our own cultures in the past. And I'm still sure there's some culture in Africa. There's still some cultures in Africa where the idea of arranged marriage is very powerful. And you might be surprised, the people who are involved, the people maybe who have even finished university.
Yeah.
And then they go to the villages and they are told by their parents, look, here is your wife. So consent may not be, I don't know, that's what I think, as a moderator.
Now, as a moderator, you see, the arranged marriage is between a man and a woman, right? Because I don't think, or I've never heard of any arranged marriage between a man and a man, or a man and an object, or a man, or niseme ule mtu tu amejisimamisha akasema nimejioa. So arranged marriage is marriage between a man and a woman, right?
Hatujakataa hiyo kitu.
It's true.
Hakuna mtu amekataa hiyo kitu, by the way. Swali ni kama ni jamii, kama ni society ilikuja ikasema marriage is between a man and a woman, that jamii of that time, kwani that jamii of that time can dictate what the jamii of this time should do? She also this jamii of this time can decide that the marriage is between a man and a cow.
Mimi nataka kumoderate hii session ndio Dominic aweze kujibu hizo maswali.
Very tough one.
Because this session about marriage completely, or unless we get the definition, we get the real meaning of marriage, what is marriage, then we are not going to move ahead. Remember, this I think the third session that we are doing, trying to understand what is marriage.
So if the best thing that you can do is, so it's either we come to a sort of an agreement. What is our working definition of marriage? So what's our working definition of marriage? What perspective are we taking? Without that, it's definitely for sure we're gonna be in a tough place, because legally speaking, from our Kenyan society, marriage is not monogamous. You know, it's allowed. Polyamorous relationships are allowed insofar as it's the man getting more than one wife. Okay, so we have to come up with an agreement, and the person we have been waiting for to give us that definition has just arrived. Just arrived.
Oh my God!
Hi.
Yani tumekumiss kabisa. For the last 18 minutes we have been discussing how we miss Silanto in this conversation. Imagine. Umetutesa.
Ndio mimi hata sina earphones, nimekumbuka saa hizi because I was in a hurry.
Uko sawa.
I have earphones are.
Usijali, umeomoka mbaya sana madam. Yeah. Hata usivai hizo earphones unasikika vizuri sana.
Oh, you can hear me?
Very well, Mike. Hata kuliko jana. Kuliko jana, So, marriage, tulikuwa hapo Agnes Lantoi.
Yes.
Na tukasema maybe you are the best person to help us understand what marriage is. That was what we were trying to define.
How am I the best person to help you understand?
Because lawyers like definitions.
Are you serious? We don't like definitions.
Big terms.
Just define.
Oh my God, what is marriage? Anaweza sikia Kenya Kimaya alikuwa amesema.
Kimaya, okay, so Kimaya came up with the idea that marriage is about consent between between a man and a woman. But Cornelius akasema, if it's just about of consent, what about two women or two men? If it's it's only a matter of consent. So Kimaya hata tukiwa tunamwangalia hivi tukaona ameenda Google, ameenda ametafuta what arranged marriages Tunaona hapa vizuri, nafikiri ati hatuoni, lakini tunaona anafanya research. Tukakuja sasa tukabomoa hiyo kitu vizuri hiyo. Sasa so we came up with the agreement. We came up with an agreement that we are going to come up with a working definition for the purposes of our discussion.
Okay.
Alafu sasa wakati tulikuwa tunajaribu kujua sasa which will be a working definition, ukabisha mlango ukaingia.
But I don't think there is a definition for marriage. I'm also trying to understand.
So ndio tunasema sasa we agree on our working definition. Which school of thought we are aligning ourselves with and why. Okay, and maybe once we do that, we possibly now will have a chance to respond to other questions that might come about what marriage is.
Yeah.
Bonus question.
Kabisa.
Bas. Sasa tuanzie hapo. So what is a working definition of marriage? In research what tunasema operational definitions. What is so tunafanya na gani? Tuanzie na wazee wa kanisa. Cornelius Apollo.
If it is a working definition, then we use the one God instituted, Christian marriage church.
That's now we will now go to the question of which God.
That is another thing. But let us hear everyone, and then we synchronize the words.
Because the God of Gikoyo and Mobi also did not stop people men from marrying 3, 4, 5 wives. So which
Jehovah Wanyonyi?
Jehovah Wanyonyi who went to be with himself.
So when you look at it, marriage was still there even before religion. That is Christianity. Before religion was brought to us as Africans, there was still marriage.
Well, same before Christianity was brought to Africa. So religion was brought. Tulikuwa nayo. Hiyo tulikuwa nayo.
Yeah, before Christianity was brought to us, there was marriage. It was still happening. Yes. So what is the proper definition of marriage? If you're going to go by the Christian way, what about what was happening before Christianity came to us?
But what is interesting is there is no I don't know the word for marriage in our Bantu language. As if it's almost never I like marriage as a concept not exist. Like time. No, there's no Bantu language with the concept of time. We never had a concept of time. So asking the same thing, what is first of all, we need to understand, did marriage as a concept exist in our cultures? I don't know. Because if you look at the word for the closest word I know, at least in my language, my mother tongue, the closest word for marriage is wedding. Okay? So I don't know for you, Silantoi. Let me start with you. Do you know if there is a word for marriage within your community?
No, I don't know.
Because Cornelius? Kimaya?
Mi najua ni kulipa dawari.
You see, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think. So I think here are the three big communities represented: Bantu, the Kushites, and
Nilotes.
And the Nilotes, isn't it? I think the three of us are well represented. So I know at least in the Bantu, at least from what I can see, I don't think there was a word for marriage as such. So and yeah, I think that would be a good place to start to understand maybe the idea of marriage was not what we understand today from a Christian perspective. So what was it? So then we can try to understand whether the idea of marriage was a developing concept where maybe in our African setting, marriage had nothing to do with companionship. It had something to do with two things. In fact, one, children.
Yeah.
children, and the continuation of the community. I think that was it. Okay, and
Yes, yes.
the more you had children, the more you had free labor for your lands, and the more you had a status. So marriage had maybe some sense of some sense of status in the society, as far as I can tell. I don't know what you want to say to that, because I'm the moderator. So I'm not, even these ideas I'm bringing, I don't know where they're coming from. So as a moderator, now, yes. So who wants to respond to this? Mumanyamaza. So what should be a working definition? Should it be the Christian perspective? The Christian perspective, and even within the Christian perspective, which one? Because even among the Christians, it's not very. We are not on the same page on what marriage is.
Yeah.
What constitutes marriage? Okay, so but we can say, okay, let us agree on the underlying commonalities, at least from a traditional perspective. Kimaya.
Yeah, Dominic, I think I'll agree with you that we agree. If we go Christian perspective, will be easier for all of us. Why? Because that is what we are used to. If we say that the traditional way, none of us was there, and I believe none of us has ever bothered to inquire about it. So if we'll be talking so much, then to some extent we'll be lying. So I agree that we go Christian perspective. And this is now just my own thinking, that even if we are going to Christian perspective, then I'll think that we narrow it down to Catholic, because if we go upper Christians, and as I was going through some videos, I saw that there was a church that allowed a wedding for the guy inaitwa objectophilia, the guy who did a wedding with a phone. It was done in the church, in a Christian church. So with that, we cannot relate to it. As a Catholic, I cannot relate to that, but I can relate to anything that is happening in the Catholic Church. So just my thinking that we can narrow it down to Christian's perspective, but again, narrowing that down to Catholic, just my thinking.
I don't know what others think about that. I don't know. I was thinking maybe, I don't know if all of us here are Catholic or even the people who are viewing, but we can, Kimaya, maybe what you could do is we discuss it from a Christian perspective. And then you argue in why maybe you think the Catholic perspective offers something more, not better, more than what is the Christianity in general offers. Maybe we could start that. I don't know what Agnes Silantoi anasemaje.
I second you, Mr. Kamau, because all of us here are Catholics, the four of us, but our viewers, and not everyone who will be viewing now and later will be a Catholic. So we can go with Mr. Kamau's option. Then we bring in.
I'm a pastor, so I would feel that in this conversation.
Yes, we just put it in a Christian perspective.
Christian perspective, okay,
Yeah.
So Cornelius.
Yes.
Now that I am sure you'll be the person to help us with this. Wewe kama mzee wa kanisa.
My friend.
Wewe kama kiongozi, tafadhali please, hebu tusaidie tujue sasa what is marriage from the Christian perspective. What are the key ideas that maybe someone can say, okay, yes, this is what marriage could be if understood from a Christian perspective?
I think from a Christian perspective, we borrow a lot from what God instituted. That we are created to be two people, that's a man and a woman, and for the purpose of continuity of the creation. And that one also includes what? It includes a lot. Care of environment. Procreation, that's having generation and generation. So giving birth and the rest. So I think, to me, those are the key. Those are the key. That procreation is there for us to take care and procreation. Yeah.
Procreation. So the main thing is procreation?
To me, I think. Because
the main thing is procreation. Silantoy?
Maybe in addition to what Cornelius has said, companionship. Because for God to create Eve, he saw that Adam was lonely and alone. So that's why he brought in Eve, so that she can keep Adam company. So we add into companionship.
Was he lonely or alone? You used those two words. I'm not very sure.
Yes, I used both. He was lonely and alone.
Alone.
From the scripture's point of view.
Okay, I am not sure what the scripture said, but I'm so sure he was both.
Sure. Just like the way you are sure they ate an apple.
He was definitely alone and lonely.
Okay. I'm the moderator. Mimi sijui. William, unasemaje?
If you are going to moderate, then please don't ask me those kind of questions. But again,
that's the work of the moderator. Ask yes.
Now I agree with the two. I agree with the two, and I'll say that now, apart from the creation story, whereby we saw that God created man, and then he saw that man was very lonely, and I said that let's not leave man alone here. So, because the man was very lonely, he decided that now let me give this man a help. Relax, brother. I've started preaching. I've started preaching now. Now, when God saw that man was very lonely, he decided that he's going to help the man. He's going to give the man a helper. And the helper that a man was given was a woman, that was Eve. So, if you see from the beginning, God thought of, now, if I give a man a helper, that is a woman, then the creation is going to continue. For the continuity of the creation, God gave Adam Eve. Otherwise, kama si for continuity, God angempatia brother mwingine. But because God wanted this creation to continue, that's why he gave a man a woman. Now, that is in the Old Testament. And then again, in the same Old Testament, tunaambiwa kwamba a man shall leave his house and go get a woman and they start their own home. That is another part of where we see the element of marriage is coming in. In the New Testament, we look at the wedding at the Canaan. This is where maybe even our president is not also fair to us, because whatever God the first miracle that God started there, our president has refused it because he changed water into wine in that wedding. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not. So there are two things here, Cornelius, that have come up. One, that Adam was lonely. Now, oftentimes you hear people telling each other, "Don't go into a relationship if you are lonely." But from the perspective of William Kimai and Silanjoy, it is okay to go into a relationship if you are lonely, because that's what God did to Adam. I don't know what you think about it as Cornelius or Paul.
No, it's not. I think Silanjoy says the word. It was God saw that Adam needed a companionship, someone to help. That's the only thing I think. It's not about
okay.
Yes.
Okay. And we
so
have to.
Are you rewriting your own Bible?
Huh?
Is Cornelius rewriting his own Bible? Because my Bible said that God saw that man was lonely.
Where? Which Bible?
The book of Genesis.
Okay, let me pick my Bible.
Kai,
sikumbuki chapter na verse. Sikumbuki chapter na verse.
Wacha Dominic akuprove zaidi.
Bwana asifiwe. Bwana Yesu asifiwe sana. Iko hapa. Haya. Ni vizuri tusome ili kama tumesema tuanzie from the Christian perspective, let us make sure that we are starting properly. Okay, so hiyo kitu
in the book of Genesis
inakuaga chapter 2, I know.
Chapter 2, yes.
Inakuaga chapter 2 verse 18.
Verse 80. Kumbe umesoma mpaka umekram.
Nimei-underline hapa. It is underlined if you can see. I don't know if you can see.
Yes. The blue.
Yes, you can see.
Yeah. The Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone.
Thank you.
Sio vizuri kwamba mwanaume akue peke yake. Peke yake. Kimaya, I would expect you to be better with Kiswahili. Okay? Like I am in this house alone. Yes? Like there's nobody else. That's the literal translation. So do you know what God did after that? In chapter 19? Do you know what he did after saying that, William?
Yes.
What did he do?
Alitoa above.
Wrong. Chapter 19 says, so the Lord God formed out of the ground various wild animals and various birds of the air. And he brought them to the man to see what he could call them. And whatever the man called them, they would be his name. So, Mungu alikuwa anatafutia company. Yeah? Na kwanza alianzia na ndege. So, if you're looking to start a marriage, anzia na kapaka. That's the procedure tunaona hapo kwa Bible. Anyway, moving on quickly. So we have agreed that our working definition is marriage is between a man and a woman. Okay. Instituted by God. That's our working definition. That means if you are working with that definition, where does the question of polygamy, which is also in the Bible, now leave us? Yes, Ilanto, you have said yes. Go on.
Actually, I wanted to underline when Mr. Kimaya was talking. God created Adam and brought in Eve. Not Eve, Agnes, Rachel, and
Kenodia.
Yes, he brought in only Eve. So, on my end, but I normally don't support polygamy. I know you will find it later. And going by the book of, by the Old Testament, I don't think there is anyone who, anyone was married but did not have several wives. Look at Abraham. Abraham had a child with Haggai. Look at the lives of Solomon, the lives of David. In the Old Testament, we see all that. But going back to creation, God created only Eve. Adam and Eve. If God wanted polygamy, he could have created Eve and Evelyn and Agnes for Adam.
We go to Kiswahili.
Then he goes on to say the book that Kimaya quoted, the verse that we quoted, a man shall leave his home and a woman shall leave. Not women, it's in singular, not in plural.
But
and they shall become one.
We are not refusing that.
Yeah.
Okay. But let us look at this man who God loved very much. Even though he stole a blessing. He's called Jacob.
Okay.
This man was somebody who was loved by God so much that even Mungu alikuwa anaenda na yeye kule. Yeah? Wanaenda tizi hivi, wanaenda sparring hivi, you know? Unakumbuka ile usiku walikuwa wanachapana na Mungu? Story nyingine noma sana. Mse wangu sana. So this guy has 2 wives. And these 2 wives are the not all that had 12 children, and yet not all the 12 children who formed the tribes of Israel were from these 2 wives. So if you read how the 12 children of Jacob came about, I think 4 or 5 of those children come from the house helps of Rachel and her sister. So again, even these 2, and Rachel and Leah. So even so, you can say practically Jacob had 4 wives, because sometimes Leah would say, sleep with this one, and then she'll give the child, and the child will be mine. Sleep with this, just the way Abraham did. And so I'm not even sure if actually Judah, from whom Jesus, which is the tribe of Jesus, actually was an actual son of Rachel or Leah. So now that brings us to a very interesting question. How do we define marriage? How do we deal with this kind of issue? So we have to, from a Christian perspective, where do we limit ourselves? So the only thing that is very clear is marriage is between, there is a man and there is a woman, not two women, not two men. That is more or less clear. I mean, not even more or less, it's clear. But now the question is, how many wives? Because you will cite Adam and Eve. I will cite Jacob. Someone else will cite Mark Oliver of the Old Testament, Solomon. You know.
and it was even there during New Testament. Remember when Jesus was being asked a question? I can see Madam Agnes is really listening to this. Remember when Jesus was asked a question that, now what happened to this man if he married and then he died and wakazidi kuoana? Nacheki bado hizi story tu bado zilikuwa hapa hivi. Hii story ya alafu mimi Wagonyero alisema Mungu alicreate Adam na Hawa, si Adam na huyu. So hapo ndio sijui lakini.
Oh, ni Adam na Hawa. Hey.
Yeah.
I have never thought about that one, my friend. Huh? My friend. So maybe, yeah. Hey, Buddha boss. That's a nice one. I have never thought of that. We need to conclude this conversation.
I'm trying to wonder. I'm not the moderator, but I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Where do we draw the line between marriage, where you're married to one wife, and adultery?
So, Kimaya.
I'm still loading.
What is the line?
What is the line, Apollo? Who is the artist here? Chola hii line mseme sasa hapa.
Even mimi kwanza nilikuwa na question kama mbili.
Guys, usaida watu wa panelists mahali wanaanza kuuliza maswali wenyewe, hebu mtu atuambie hiki. Na nyinyi ndio panelists.
You know something?
Madam Agnes.
I don't know.
Madam Agnes, you want to know the difference between?
No, where you draw that line?
The line.
Or adultery, when it comes now to you adding another wife.
Where you draw the line is if you go get a brand new and then you bring that one, you've agreed. That is not adultery, because that is, remember about the consent between two people. So you've agreed. So you bring her in. So you have two. And then you go get a brand new. Si tunanyang'anya kwa mtu, si uchukui kwa mtu. That is just my thinking. Unachukua brand new enye jaguzwa, enye jatumika. So unachukua brand new. Muna agree. We mwenyewe Yesu umetumika, lakini as a man you go and make a new agreement.
Unasikia story? So for me the concept of adultery, as far as I can tell, hebu tusikie kwa Cornelius.
You know, but if the story I've given us about Jacob, if God was really with Jacob and God saw Jacob with two wives, so when we say where can we draw the line, I don't know, but my thinking is pengine God pia aliona, let him just have it. Have them.
Let's not draw the line.
Yes,
I don't think there's something like drawing the line. Even God did not draw the line to Jacob.
But I'm asking, there is the aspect of Silantori's question, and the question is this: if the second, third, fourth wife is your legal wife, and we are defining legal as this, we are going to approach legality here. You are the lawyer. We are going to approach legality here as the social contract. Okay, so if whatever relationship you have between a man has with the wife or wives that he has, if that is within the social contract, right, then that is not adultery. But if it goes beyond the social contract, I think that's what we would call adultery. Whether it's a monogamous or polygamous marriage, as far as I can tell. From a Christian perspective, of course, the Old Testament permits for polygamy, but the New Testament doesn't permit for polygamy. Neither does it even permit for divorce. The words of Jesus himself. So I think for me, that's where I would say that's where you draw the line. So if you say my marriage is going to be defined by the Christian perspective, okay, then what you are saying is you are admitting to a monogamous relationship, first of all, and secondly, that means if you are married to that person and then you have sex with somebody else, whether that person is married or not, then that is what adultery is, isn't it? So that's what I would say. That's where the line, because we have agreed we are doing this from a Christian perspective. So the New Testament makes it clear that marriage is between a man and a woman, one man, one woman. They cling together and they become one. So when Jesus says they become one, it means that he's bringing in the character of exclusivity. That once they become one, it's complete. There's no addition and there's no subtraction. Right? From a Christian perspective, again, marriage does not end. Marriage does not become marriage until you have sex. So even after at the altar, even after saying I do, it does not matter until you do what you call consummation or consummation. Consummation is until you have sex. So even if you are to walk away after saying I do at the altar, you are technically not yet married until after the I do is attached to sex. That's what you call consummation. So I'm the moderator, but ninahitaji kuwafunza because naona hata kama vile niangalia ni kama historia hajaisikia. If you've ever heard the word consummation, consummation is not the I do. Consummation is the sex after the I do, right? So if you're gonna work from the Christian perspective, then that is more or less a working definition. So now the question is, what prevents us from getting there? And maybe we can pick that from next time. So that could be a nice closing point, as far as I can tell, because we are almost 20 minutes after 30 minutes.
Then I think we can conclude that from the Christian perspective, it is one wife.
Kama ni sisi umeambia, ni kama hujasema one husband.
Mimi sijakubali.
Ni kama unajitoa kwa hiyo fraction. My friend, hapa ni mtu mmoja. Yani ni kama ni githeri, kama umeamua ni githeri ni githeri. Unaona chapati unasema ni githeri, mimi nimeamua ni githeri. Kama ni mursik unasema mimi nakunywa mursik pekee. Hata mtu akinipatia wine, whiskey, mursik. So viewers, ladies and gentlemen, that has been Y.G.I continuing the conversation about relationships, what is marriage, and we have come to that point of defining it in the sense of the Christian tradition. We would like to hear what you have to say in terms of the conversation we are having. If you have a different opinion, none of us here has the monopoly of knowledge, so talking to us would help us also to be less wrong and to continue to develop even more. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Kamau Mwangi, first of all. Very mse mwingine man. Alafu kuna watu wengine hapo kama William. But I want to thank also the panelists, William Kimaya, the chair, Agnes Silantoi, who is our treasurer. She's also our legal expert and also our advocate, and she is the one who holds this group together. And of course, Cornelius, Msewa Kanisa, the man we refer to when we want to clarify some things from the Bible. You know, yeah, he's the man. He's the man who ndio kiongozi wetu, yeah? So thank you so much, guys, and see you on Sunday. Sorry, don't Sunday, Wednesday.
Hey, well,
Thank you.